So I'm on many different platforms today. Thank you for joining. I'm going to be talking about Mental Awareness Month, as it is Wednesday, Wellness Wednesday, and we need to have these discussions. And as mothers, I thought I would come to all my channels and speak on this because it's going to be a little bit of transparency. And of course, you see I have my little waist strainer here, so I'm killing two birds with one stone, Mindful Wednesday and just keeping the mind, body, and soul all intact. So I appreciate those of you who are joining, and I appreciate those of you who are watching the replay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So this is a touchy subject for me. If you don't know who I am, my name is Latrice Lindsay, and I am a single mother advocate. I am the Jill of all trades. I dibble and dabble in many different things, but my passion is compassion. My passion is helping individuals to basically live their blessed life. And majority of my life, I've been so helpful to others in terms of, helping them with their physical development and activities and things in that nature. And then a lot of those people also struggled with a lot of mental issues that that so many of them were, I guess, abandoned, and so many of them were just not understood. But it was in, I think, around 2010, I myself started experiencing personally, signs of like anxiety. And prior to that, I went through a stage of depression, and experiencing all of that led me through a crazy journey, and actually embracing and understanding these things on even a different level. And it's so misunderstood. And one of the things as mothers, especially if you are viewed as a strong person, so many people around us in our community, are in our environment, may feel that, as a strong person, you don't need help. As a strong person, oh, don't worry, you'll be okay. This too will pass. Not knowing just a little help, a little comfort, just a little support would go a long way. But no, as a strong person, you're expected to just battle and fight all these things on your own, because in their mind it's like, you're okay, you work things out anyways, you get over everything anyways, and things always work out for you. So no one is ready and available there to kind of root for you or to support you. So a little bit of my story back in 2010, as I was experiencing, and this was my last relationship. It was like maybe maybe 2 years into the relationship, I started having a lot of, I had a lot of battles with my mindset, and just because of the traumas that I've been through in previous relationships, and just relationships with exes, relationships with friends, relationship with parents, just relationship on a whole. And it really traumatized me and really affected me, because I internalized a lot of things and never got into the habit of speaking out these things. And I did write a lot of things down, because I'm a writer, I'm a creator. I like to jot things down. So I always had journals, and I always try to create something. So I call it journaling with God, and I was always prayerful. So thankfully, these little steps made major difference and impacts in my life. But definitely when you're going through the storm, you're not realizing what an impact, you're not realizing how, sorry, I'm just getting my tea, you're not realizing how much of an impact this is doing for you. You're planting little seeds. So back in 2010, I started experiencing a lot of anxiety attacks. I hyperventilated a lot, about 4 to 5 times throughout my period journey since 2010 to say 2017, right? So 7 years on this anxiety. I've been, I gotten so bad to the point where doctors were prescribing me medications and giving me suggestions on what I can and should do to help me. But it's so challenging. I don't like to say the word hard. I don't like to say the word difficult, but it's so challenging when it's you against the world. It's you against the world in your community. And I say that because I was in an environment where everybody expected you to just do it all. And everyone in my area and everybody in my environment was not where, in the position where they can even understand and explain to me or help me, right? So we're all kind of fighting our own battles, and we're all trying to make it out and trying to do things on our own. So we all needed our little help in our own little way. So nobody really understood the battles that I personally was going through. So because I was the internalized type of person, the things that I was going through, even though it may have been similar to, a close friend or similar to a family member, it impacted me more because it wasn't just that. It was the bunch of other things that, rooted down from childhood and that was never dealt with and never decluttered. So when it all piled up and exploded, that one little issue, that one little circumstances, the arguments that was repetitive, that just kept on going and going, really pushed me really over to the edge, right? I don't know what's going on with Instagram, but they will catch up due to poor connection, it's saying. I don't know what was, so it really pushed me over the edge. And this is why I started experiencing all of these things. And even then, people around me didn't understand what was that. What is this thing that you're going through? So again, going through these things, having no one to talk to, and still continuing on with my habits of if you're on Instagram, please let me know if you're hearing me, because it's on my end it's saying it's poor connection. So back to internalizing the current problems that is going on with me, the current situation that is affecting me. So going through the anxiety and hyperventilating, and thankfully I had a sweet cousin who I can always call on no matter what, and she was able to talk me through it. She would really drop what she is doing, and she would even come and find me wherever I am if needed. But oftentimes, she was there with me, or she was on the phone, and she would talk me through some breathing exercises to kind of calm me down, because I was panicking, I was anxious. And until this day, anxiety affects me. Until this day, sorry, my cat was trying to jump up. Until this day, anxiety, like I said, affects me. But let me kind of backtrack. I'm in control more of my anxiety now, but let's talk about being anxious. Let's talk about the panic attacks. Let's talk about the hyperventilation. Like, you will be experiencing anger, you'll be experiencing worries, and especially being a strong and independent individual as I am, I'm always in control, always wanting to be in control of situations that I tend to place myself in. And during that period of time, I was out of control. But I had allowed so many people to come around me who misused me and mismanaged me, and led me down a path where basically they were in control. And that was frightening for me. During that period of time, I was just frantic because I saw myself going down a road where it wasn't suitable for my living. I saw myself going down a road where it was a lot of loss and damage and danger, but I was out of control. So that created and planted seeds of worry and fear inside of me. And the fact that I did not deal with these issues right there and then while the seeds were being planted, it manifested into something that, I'm constantly looking over my shoulder. I'm constantly expecting the worst out of places, people and things, where, things that I want to do. I constantly lived a life of fear that prevented me from excelling into my business. When in 2010, in 2012, sorry, I had my daughter, and a lot of things and a lot of people had turned their back on me, or they didn't understand how important business was for me. They didn't understand how important having control of a lifestyle was very important to me, and having a foundation was important to me. So a lot of things that I set in place were falling apart. Why? Because one, I did not have the support to help me walk through to set up a foundation or in business, so that even when life happens, like sickness, or you have to, go away, or pregnancy, or anything happens in life, then your business can still stay afloat. I didn't have systems set in place to continue going on. No, what I had was manpower, and without me being the foundation of the business, or the main person who is running things at that time, without me, then the business was unable to go on. So that just added to the pressure that I was feeling. That added to the decrease in my finances. And as a woman, as a mother, as a individual, as a Taurus, these are things that are important to us. We want to make sure that our children are okay. We want to make sure that we have the finances there, set in place, available for us, to know that, it doesn't even matter if us, the individuals, don't have anything to eat. It doesn't matter if us, the individual, don't feel, secure. We're just more worried and concerned about our children, making sure that they eat, making sure that, they have something to eat, making sure that they can still have a roof over their heads, and you don't want to look bad in other people's eyes. So you're always considering and thinking about other people and not thinking about yourself. I don't know what's going on with my internet and stuff here. Let me see if I can do anything different, because I'm frozen over here on Periscope as well. So yeah, anyhow, so went through I went through so many, panics as that. So 2012, now when I had my daughter, close up. Sorry guys, I'm just waiting again. Hi Periscope, I'm back. I'm lost connection. I do not have a title for this one. I just jumped back on, but I'm talking about mental awareness, because we are in the month of May, and I'm just sharing my story and how it has affected me, before and after. So thank you, each and every one of you guys, for joining me. If you were on before then, amazing, you got to see the beginning of the conversation. But I'm really just talking about just awareness, today, of how anxiety can really get to us if we truly ignore it over and over again. So 2012, had my baby, lost companies, family structure wasn't great. I went through a period of time where I'm back again. I went through a period of time where I was just anxious at all times, and I was having these anxiety attacks because, as I said, it started from 2010. So by 2012, when I had my baby, now then, now I had to deal with postpartum, then I had to deal with my current situation, and knowing that it's not as perfect as how I wanted it to be. I also had to deal with having a child, and even though hi Instagram, welcome back. I'm sorry that I don't know, technology, internet kind of cut off, but I'm still talking about mental health awareness, and because we are in the month of May, and today is Wednesday, so it is Wellness Wednesday, and I was just sharing my story again about how mental anxiety and depression and all of these things affected me in my life and on my path and on my journey. So if the other video was saved, then go ahead, you'll hear the beginning of that, or you can see it on my YouTube channel later when I post it. But went through my stages at 2012. So I was going through the situations where, again, family, friends, everything kind of just looked like it was just overwhelming and depleting, and things weren't working for me. I didn't have the help. In my hindsight, in my mind, I never was in a situation where I was able to have the type of help that I needed to get to just get ahead in life. I always had to make major sacrifices in order to get myself ahead of life. I don't have anyone that I can pick up the phone and say here. So I would go through my up times by myself, but I also went through a lot of the darkest moments of my life by myself. So going through that, having my child in 2012, losing a company that was like my baby, and it's something that I was so passionate about, and so looking forward to build into a grand enterprise, and helping the economy. So all of these things are weighing on my mind, and I kept on telling myself, you see, you're proving proving everybody right that you're not worth it, and you're gonna fail in life, and all of the things that were told to me as I was growing up, all of the things that was suggested, or all of the things that was said to me from other things that I learned about myself from other people's opinion, started weighing a lot on my mind over and over and over and over again. So it got me back into that state of deep depression. And at the time, also, when I just had my child, my child's father was not around. He was around throughout the pregnancy, but then due to circumstances, he ended up getting arrested, and he missed out the first 3 to 4 months of the birth of my child. So I also had that on my plate on top of everything, and having to deal with a newborn baby and going through the postpartum in addition to all of that. So my anxiety came back again. So building from there, I went through from 2012 to now 2014, another stage in my life where it was panic attack, it was anger management, it was mental breakdowns, it was going through a lot of things in my life that, again, people around me didn't understand, people around me didn't see. I was that girl that went home, I wanted to stay in the house. I was that girl who cried myself to sleep. I was that girl who attempted suicide. I was that girl who was just very defensive from what everybody kept on saying to me. So, and I thought this was important to come on because, again, it is mental health awareness month, and today is Wellness Wednesday, and I want you guys to listen to my story and figure out how you can implement the tips that I have at the end into your own life, because so often we go through so many things behind closed doors. And one of the things that I've seen so often in social media is like a lot of the people who you see who are struggling with depression and anxiety, they're the happiest person. They're the happiest people who are out there. They're smiling, they're shining. But then behind closed doors, you don't know what's happening. And we wear that mask on the outside because one, we were trained all our lives to wear masks. We're putting on different hats as we go to school. We're putting on different hats when we go to work. We're putting on different hats, and we have to mask, ourselves, our true identity, to put on this image of self to perform for your academics, to perform for your income, so that you can be that person who they need you to be, so they can reward you in payment or reward you in your certificates or your accolades, right? So from birth, we are trained to put on these masks for ourselves. So in some sense, unconsciously, we become experts. So for those people who are really going through something like this that I'm talking about, please reach out to me, reach out to somebody who can definitely help you to overcome these adversities, because it is a killer. It has taken lives. It's not many of us who have really made it through. We have to really be able to fight hard, fight ourselves, fight our physical selves, and become more spiritual in order to defeat what is really going on. So back to what I was saying, I was that person who would, put on that mask. So I became fake. I became fake to myself. I became fake to the world. And it wasn't cute. It wasn't cute. And it didn't feel good, because at home, I no longer wanted to be here. At home, I no longer wanted to be bothered. And I was just always just crying. And even sometimes I would be outside and I'm walking and I would just break down. I would just break down and I would just start crying. And it was just not a pretty stage in my life. So again, talking back around the people and the support that you have around you, so it's so hard for you to have a surrounding of people who have lack of knowledge. It's so hard to have people around you that really don't understand the things that you're going through, or don't even believe that you can be going through these things, or even worse, don't even care, right? So and I was surrounded by all three, and I was expected to be this type of person. And if I overreacted to them, it was like you were the worst person ever, right? It was strange. It was constantly being called crazy, 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 not understanding that I was just having a mental breakdown at that time. And those were signs and those were triggers. Yesterday, I believe it was, or this week, I had posted on my Instagram page that, we need to stop ignoring the signals, because we do get signs before the house basically burns down. It's either the smoke alarm goes off, or our senses kind of let us know that, listen, you need to pay attention to something, right? Hello, thanks for joining. I'm talking about mental health awareness and anxiety and things that I was going through in life, but I appreciate you. So, I mean, the post that I talked about was like, listen, there are signals, there are signs that we need to be aware of. And if you ignore that, then guess what? The house burns down, and then it's too late. Then you have to reconstruct, then you have to relocate. And it's the same with what we're going through in our personal life. So when I was at 20, so I talked from 2010 to 2012, and now between 2012 and 2014, I was at that point where the house was about to burn down. The house being my body. I went through the crying stage, the breaking down, the emotional bondage, and all of that. And the people around me weren't supportive because they didn't understand. I even had people around me who didn't care, because their heart, whatever trauma in their life, had led them to have a numb heart, that they don't really care about what is going on in their life. So again, we may be going through things, and people around us don't care. At that point, you need to care. And this is why back in 2014, I had to take up myself and literally move, because If not for that, to separate in order for me to elevate to where I am now today at this point, then I would have caused more harm to myself and leaving more harm to my children. Being a mother of three, being a single mother of three, who even at times when I did have, the support around me, it wasn't the type of support I needed. You ever been in that situation where you think you're being supportive to somebody, but that person is not receptive to that support? It's because you're giving them support the way you know how and not the way they need the support. So in essence, it wasn't helpful, and sometimes it can be very burdensome for that person. So the support that I had back then, they became like an enabler. Like I was the one really, they were help, their presence was there to help me, but in the same sense, it was more burden on me and putting more pressure on me, because I also had to support that person. I also had to, run around for that person. I also had to be the mental clarity for that person, when really inside I was screaming out for help, and I wasn't able to take on another load, but I was still pushing through. And I woke up one day and I lit like a major situation happened in my life that kind of woke me up. I got up one day and I flee my house. Like it was just that crazy. I got my children, I packed up my stuff and I moved away, because if not, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be here today. I would have been either dead, thankfully I'm still here, or I would have been behind bars. Thankfully, that is not my lot, because I don't like confinements. Okay, so I'm living in this big world and I'm experiencing anxiety and depression and trauma and all of that. Can you imagine little old me being behind bars? No, I would die. So God has allowed me to just separate myself so that I was able to elevate myself. And then in 2014, when I removed myself from my circumstance that was keeping me bondage, and at that time we do things without even knowing why, and it was needed in order for me to again elevate. So in 2014 I came, and the problems didn't stop then. No, because now I found myself in a city where I knew absolutely no one, a mother of three by herself, no one to say, okay, here, children, go over here while I go over here and try to get something done. No, if I was looking for work, I had to make sure, well, where's the children are? What are they going to do? And at that time, I was living in a hotel. And I had to, take chances at that time, leave the children in the hotel, run to a job interview, praying, worrying, fretting, concerned, panicking. So all of this was adding to my anxiety and building up even more anxiety, saying like, okay, I hope everything is okay. I hope no one takes my children, because I don't know what I would do then. So, it all worked out. I ended up finding a job. I ended up seeking a place, because at that time I was able to go to those places, look for apartments, look for places with my children by my side. So there was a lot of things I was able to do. And, thankfully in this country that we're in I'm in Canada. For those of you who are not here and who are watching, we have a lot of systems set in place for people who are living on their low income, and if you want to utilize those services, then it's there available for you. So I was able to get my children into childcare, and it was paid for. I was able to have that period of time now to kind of try to structure back myself. If it's one thing that I know how to do, is to build back and to just bounce back from where I'm coming from. The very dark moments that I go through, it lasts only for a term and only for a season, but I am always able to bounce back and get back on my feet. But one of the difference now in life, hard times still comes, but now I know how to deal with them. not only do I know how to deal with the problems, I also know how to deal with the problems internally, because it was the internal problems that kept me repeating the anxiety attacks. It was the internal problems that kept me going through hyperventilations and being fearful and worried about the who, the what, and the when. It was the internal um, things that were happening to me that kept me bounded to my bed. Didn't want to do, like, I was numb to the world. I didn't want to be anywhere. I didn't want to be with anyone. I didn't want to see anyone, even with the children, right? So I'm giving thanks that now I'm in a place, I'm in a space, since I would say 2017. So from 2014 to 2017, I still did that, that shedding, that breaking down, and that building back in all aspects, mind, body, spirit, in order to be where I am now. So 2017 to present, I was able to remove myself, to separate, to elevate. And I know people are always expecting you to just be strong. People are always expecting you to be, you know, to be know-it-all, and to just, oh, you've done all of this on your own, and they want to pat you on the back and say good job, but there's no one there to stretch a hand to help you. So at some point I just stopped looking for help from other people. Down to the doctors couldn't help me, because they just wanted to prescribe medications to you that was numbing to you, and then you become a zombie depending on these medication that they prescribe to you. If you get addicted to it, then you have another problem, right? I'm not saying that you don't take the medications, because at a point in my life, yes, I needed the medications, right? And I took the medications, but there was a point that I had, again, take initiative and take responsibility for myself to say, okay, I need to stop taking these now, and let's start implementing more natural things, and start taking more control of my life. So you start filtering out these things. So the stages that we go through life, it's stages that we have to keep repeating in every areas, in every season that we go through, right? So some of the tips that I want to leave with you today, as I shared my story and just gave you a little snippet, that was a little snippet, believe you me, because there is so much that I've left out that you probably wouldn't believe that, little old me ended up going through, and I made it through. And I can sit here and just say I'm thankful. So the little tips that I want to give you guys today to go with, one, be mindful, stay in the present, understand, what it is that you're going through, understand why you're going through it, and understand where did it come from, what is the root, where did the root start. And if it's child, I was able to identify that a lot of things that I was dealing with, and a lot of baggage and weight that I was carrying over and carrying with me, I was like the bag when I was pregnant. And when I had a young child, I was always this lady. I had my strollers, I had the baby bag, then I had another bag, and then especially if I was sleeping over somewhere, I had another bag. So people would always make fun of me and say, oh, you're the bag lady. So, and we often see that imagery on social media at the end of the year, or the beginning of every year. You see this lady with all the bags, and you see the steps of life and what you're leaving into 2018 and going into 2019. So it's the same with us. We have these baggage that we need to figure out, what are they, what are the roots of them, right? And figure that out, write them out, identify them, and start to work on them. Start to figure out how are they affecting you, why are they affecting you, and figure out ways that you can reprogram your mind to have a different perspective of those exact things. Again, that's being mindfulness. Now, two, pay attention to the signals. I first had, I've always had little shakes, jitters in my hand. I always had that. I was in high school. People were asking me, why are you always shaking? Are you nervous? Who are you scared of? So I've ignored it. But as I was going through these stages of anxiety and hyperventilating and things, these jitters were getting more visible, and they were just there more. pay attention to the warning signs. We have these fear and worries and intuition for a reason. They're warnings. They're warnings to let us know that there is something that you need to stop and pay attention to. So remember to, when you see or feel those things happening, be aware, understand, take time to notice. Like when you're walking, I mean, nowadays we're going way too fast in life. We don't even stop and smell the roses. But picture yourself walking through a park. Be present with that moment. Identify what is around you. You see the trees, you see the flowers, what color they are, you see the what animals are you seeing. You're being present in the moment. So apply that to the feelings that you are feeling within yourself, and be aware of these said feelings. And take moments of gratitude. We are so grateful, we are so blessed, and so often, because of the things that we're going through in life, we don't tend to appreciate those moments. We tend, it tends to be clouded, and we have a blindfold over our eyes. We put a veil over our eyes to say that, what, these things we can't. The fact that we wake up this morning, it has, in the past, it has happened every day consistently for 37 years of my life. So it's so easy to not appreciate these things. We're breathing. To be able to even hold this cup of tea that I haven't took a sip of yet, and it's getting cold, we tend to not appreciate these moments. And this is one of the things that I got to appreciate, because between the time of 2014, when I told you I went away, I got into a really bad car accident, and I totaled my car. And to that day, I don't drive again. I haven't driven, but God willing, this year I'm getting back into a vehicle and I'm going to drive. I've driven, but I just refuse to own a vehicle. So this year I will own back my vehicle. I went through therapy, and one of the exercise that I had was to hold a water bottle, and that was the hardest thing for me. So as I was building up back my strength, I was starting to build back my awareness and the moments of gratitude. And I even though I work with a lot of seniors and individuals with disabilities, physical and mental, I really didn't understand to the point of that, until that moment, how much of a challenge a lot of the things we take for granted was for them. So the fact that I wasn't able to, that it was challenging for me to have just a water bottle in my hand to do little exercise and things in that nature, and it was really painful for me and very challenging. I got to appreciate moments like that. The fact that I'm able to open a water bottle. My thumb is now was also injured, and sometimes some things I'm unable to open, things that I used to open. And as we get older, we lose our senses, we lose certain things in our, certain abilities that we have, that we have acquired during life, that we were born with. If you were blessed to be born with these things, once you lose them and they decrease, then you realize it opens your senses to realize that, what, this was really useful to me, and I've gotten used to and comfortable with these things. So again, take moments of gratitude. Everything, it doesn't matter what you're going through, be grateful. Yesterday I was out walking with my son, and I saw this man. He's transitioning. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. So he I saw, what caught my attention was the fact that, yes, okay, he was sleeping on the floor like most of them do outside. It was cold and it was raining, and I just noticed it. And what made me notice him was, he not only did he have his bags neatly packed up by his head where he was laying, but he created like a headboard. He had all his bags piled up, but he had this big, huge teddy bear, right? And the teddy bear was still clean, the teddy bear was still tidy, and he also had this artwork this art painting that he put, and he created a little peaceful area for himself. And I stopped and I recognized that moment, and even he is showing gratitude and just the way he's taking care of the little that he has. So things like that, I start to even appreciate even more, and I start to look at those things, and I appreciate even if I have moments to even see things like that, and to say, well, you know what, I'm truly grateful. And the fact that they are, oh, I'm sorry. um it's frozen. I didn't see the emoji, but thank you. So the fact that they the fact that they're able to see, the fact that I am able to have eyes to see these things, I'm really, really, really appreciative. So believe you me, you may see me on the road, or you may see me jump on here, and you wouldn't think that I go through these anxieties and these, you know, depression moments. And a lot of times it happens, life happens where, you know, I try to sink back into those things, because guess what, I you know, I love to have things, like I told you, in control at the very beginning. So if a day, and being an entrepreneur, as I mentioned earlier in some of my stories and lives, that listen, if your money is from other people, so if you don't do the work, you don't get paid. So I still go through moments where, you know, bills are being paid because I'm not getting absolutely no financial help for my children. So if I don't create income streams for them, and if I'm not active in my business, then the money is not going to come. You have to continuously be active when you say you want to be a boss. So when you see me on here, and you know I'm putting in work. I'm not on here, then I have to be out there putting in work, because then who's going to feed us? Who's going to keep the roof over our head? There's nobody to turn to. So you have to now create, right? So when I see a bill come, and you know, if my mind try to tell me that, listen, Lord, you know, you have to go make that money, or you know that money is not available right now, you know, that thought alone would get me into old habits, and want to allow me to sink back into one depression, want me to go sink back into worrying, want me to sink back into just being anxious, and the anxiety rising up again. But you have to be quickening. You have to have quickening and speedily to correct those things. Correct it so that it doesn't fester and manifest out into the negative. So stay positive at all times, right? Remove yourself from people, places, or things that are affecting you negatively. Listen, 2017, I started cut and clear. Cut out the people in your life. They may be good people. They may be people who are attached. They could be your mother. They could be your child's father. They could be your aunt. They could be your grandmother. They could be, if they are negative for you in that season, if they are impacting you in a negative way and adding to your stress and adding to your anxiety, before you are able to get a hold of it and make yourself better, remove yourself, cut them off, limit the conversation that you have with them, start correcting them when they're speaking into you. Do not allow them to speak to you, to add negative energy to you. If it's happening, just say, listen, you know what, I gotta go. Cut it by the root. Cut it, okay, until you get to that place. God willing, if they're still alive and breathing, without the understanding, because they're not gonna understand, they're only gonna think of themselves, which is why you have to think about yourself. So until you get to that place where you can now deal with them and accept them for who they are, because unless they do their work, unless they do the internal work that you are set out to do for yourself to improve yourself, they will always be that. They will always be the type of person they are. So now you have to work on you. Get yourself to a place where, guess what? You're able to you're able to deal with these type of people. You're able to deal with them in a way that they're no longer affecting you in any way. Okay, so I hope these tips are helpful for you. I hope this reaches the ears of those who needed to hear it at the time. I hope this has touched the hearts of those who need to, implement these tips, and it can, sometimes when you think you're going through something and you hear someone's story, and then it gets you to a place where you kind of have to say, you know what, it can't be that bad after all. So it ignites something in you where you want to say, well, let me start doing something about my situation and my circumstance. And that's all I want you to do. Start reflecting, start looking at yourself, start looking at the things that you're doing and that you can do, because you know what you're doing right now. You already been through it. You have been going through it, and so you already know the results and the impact. So try something different. Do something different, right? Learn what that other thing is that you need to do, or get yourself connected with someone who can help walk you through it. You have to invest in yourself, right? And there's so many mistakes that I made in life and in business that, I've found the results of them on my own, and I've learned it on my own. I've self-taught myself, and I've pointed myself, and through these situations I was pointed in directions where I was able to find resources and become resourceful and learn from my mistakes, so that I am now able to help individuals and help them to and help point them in the directions that they need to go through, and help them to do that soul work. And that's what I'm all about. That's what I want to do. That's what I hope for you. That's what I hope for you to get out of this. Now, if you want to get in contact with me, send me a DM, send me a message, email me info.smileempress@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram at smile.empress, smile.empress. And if you want to see the full play on this, because yes, I see that IG is kind of freezing up. Thank you for letting me know that. And I know that Periscope surprisingly cut me off, and I have to jump back on it, so it's not a straight clip. So if you want to see this whole story and the tips that I had to give you, if you want to see the full 47 minutes of it, then go ahead and go visit my YouTube channel. You can get the link of the YouTube in my bio at smile.empress. And I hope that everyone is having a wonderful and peaceful day. Peace, love, and light. And remember to be mindful, stay in gratitude at all times. I am thankful for those who are chiming in. I am thankful for those who are going through moments and taking the time to acknowledge those moments, and taking action to solve those situations, and to make a change and to make a difference in their life. And let's continue to empower, let's continue to inspire, let's continue to show love, because I have so much love in my heart. I was able to get out of these dark places because my love overflows, and my love just conquers everything around me, no matter what I tend to put myself through. So peace, love, and light. Have yourself a wonderful night. Bye. Just chiming off everything, guys. See you. Bye.